have the basics to even eat. So they come, the Christian missionaries come to the Muslims, we'll give you food, become a Christian. Of course, they don't have any defense against this. They need to eat, they're starving, so they accept the food. They don't have any defense to keep their faith, so they accept Christianity. Ignorance. Ignorance is no bliss. Some say ignorance is a bliss. Ignorance is no bliss. Ignorance is a cause, is a root to disbelief. Is a path to disbelief. And that's why someone just practicing could be the greatest worshipper, abid in Allah Azza wa Jal. But the moment the shaitan comes to him with some issue that he has no knowledge of, it'll cause him doubts. And there's a story that some of the scholars mention. A shaitan comes to an abid and wants to create some doubt. Now this abid is worshipping Allah, praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he's just praying and that's all he knows. Doesn't have any knowledge. So you ask him a simple question. You know, look at shaitan come. Ask him a simple question. Can Allah put the world, the whole creation inside an egg? What's the answer if somebody asked you this question? Jazakallah khair. That's the right answer. If we say we don't know, if you say I don't know, then you don't know who Allah Azza wa Jal is. If you say I don't know, you don't know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And if you say He can't, then you don't know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Right? And as a brother said, the right answer, the one who has knowledge, will say Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. Allah can do everything. Allah is able to do everything. But the abid, he doesn't know. As a result of knowing this knowledge, he's now committed kufr. Because you don't know the ability and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But of course, if that shaitan goes to an alim's answer straight away, of course, Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. Wallah ala kulli shayin qadir. We read all the time. Allah is able to do everything. Everything that is possible, Allah can do it. Okay, because if somebody says, can Allah create something like Himself? And what's the answer to that? Can Allah create something like Himself? What's the answer, brothers? I'm not testing you here, but you see, a shaitan can come with that question. The answer is that question is not possible. Because if Allah created something like Himself, that thing would not be like by Allah, because Allah Himself is not created. So you cannot, that is not possible. So Allah can do everything that is possible. Allah does whatever is possible. So you cannot say something that is not possible to exist. There cannot be something like Allah, because Allah is one, uncreated. So there cannot be something which is similar to Allah Azza wa Jal. Anyway, the point here is that if shaitan comes to people with these kind of doubts, and they don't have the knowledge to defend themselves, they will start doubting the Deen, and they will start doubting Allah, and as a result, they will question their faith, and they will maybe end up giving up their faith as well. And that's why you find in the hadith of Sahih Muslim, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the shaitan comes to every one of you and says, who created this? And who created that? Right? So he'll make you question these things, which are valid, legitimate questions, but shaitan is step by step, he wants to go somewhere. This is the footsteps of shaitan. He's very clever. So he wants to take you somewhere. So he starts asking you, who made this, who made that? And then eventually he'll ask you a question, who created Allah? Everything must be created. So who created Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So when that happens, what should you do? Seek refuge in shaitan. Because this question is not a rational question, and because by the very what can we say, ration dictates that Allah has no creator. A ration dictates Allah has no creator, so you cannot ask the irrational question. This is irrational. You cannot ask who created Allah, because there has to be one creator who created everything. Then you can't ask who created that creator. You'd be going around in circle forever, right? So when that question comes, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, seek refuge in Allah and keep away. Right? So if somebody didn't have that knowledge, this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam may start entertaining this idea. Yeah, hang on, that's true. And this is what the atheists of our times today, they say, okay, you believe God created everything, then who created you, God? Of course, we have a very simple answer for them, but this is something that they ask to fool the people. So if we don't have that knowledge to deter or to repel these whispers, then this is what is going to happen. Shaitan will come to us as a result of our ignorance. And also in a similar hadith from Sahih Muslim also, Rasulullah said that men will continue to question one another until it's asked, Allah created all things, but who created Allah? And then when a person is confronted with such a situation, you'd say, not to question this. This is what they will say, that scientists or these atheists say we should question everything. But if we come to this question, we should affirm our faith in Allah Azza wa Jal, amantu billah. If shaitan comes to us with this whisper, we say amantu billah, we believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. There is no going further or discussing this question. It's not a rational question that needs to be discussed. So ignorance is the first step, or if you like, the first area that people are affected by as a shubuhat in their deen. And that's why Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi has a very wonderful statement. He says here that most people, when they come into Islam, or if they are born into Islam, they generally follow the practices of Islam. And they obey Allah and the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so they are Muslims. And he said they have, if you like, basic iman. They have basic iman, and that they enter, or the reality of iman enters into their hearts little by little. He says further that, but however, many of these people do not reach the level of yaqeen, reach the level of certainty, or even jihad. And if they are made to doubt, they start doubting. If they are made to doubt, they start doubting. And if they are ordered to jihad, they will not do jihad. And they do not have the ilmul yaqeen, they do not have that certainty of knowledge to repel the doubt that arises. And he says that, and they do not have enough love of Allah or His Messenger to kind of avert this kind of fitnah. And if they are prevented, or if they are saved from the fitnah, they are saved. But if they are tested with this kind of doubts, then these doubts, they become basically doubtful about their deen, and which results in a kind of hypocrisy, he says. So this is the first point, ignorance, al-jahl. And I mentioned earlier, we see thousands of Muslims today being converted to Christianity because they don't have the basic knowledge about al-Islam or understanding of Islam. Missionaries are very, very active in Muslim countries, especially in the poorer Muslim countries. And even, in our communities, in our societies, many are so-called educated people who don't have the basics of their deen, understanding of their knowledge, and because of science and whatever other subjects they study, these doubts start entering into their minds, and they start questioning Allah, they start questioning Islam. I remember some time ago, someone I knew from school, and I met him a few years later. He'd gone to university, from a Muslim family. He'd gone to university, studied science and physics and whatever, and started, we met somewhere, and he started questioning, why does Allah need to be worshipped? Why all of these hardships and these disasters that are going on if there is a God? So very simple things which Muslims understand, or Muslims should understand, why these things happen. But of course, if you don't have that knowledge, then you will not be able to answer those questions. So these questions that these answers that we know very well, for some are a cause for doubts in their deen. That's the first. The second issue, brothers and sisters, which give doubt rise to shubuhat in people's deen, is to put their intellect over the revelation. When the people start using their limited intelligence over the revelation of Allah Azza wa Jal, this is what causes the doubts to arise. And history is full of examples of this. People who engaged in what's known as ilmul kalam, theology, and which is pretty much based on kind of rationale and intellectual arguments, or as they would claim, intelligent arguments. But we know in reality most of these are kind of doubts that they had. So a lot of these people, when they did this and they engaged in ilmul kalam, what happened to them? Does anybody know any of them? Any of these people? Most of them ended up doubting the deen. Most of them in their later life, alhamdulillah, by Allah's mercy,